Hey everyone, Laurel here, Minnesota Zone 5A. I'm just going to kind of show you how I winterize the garden. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving already. Doesn't feel like it. We've had a warm, really warm fall, one of the warmest. But I'm kind of on track with getting things ready to go. So first things first, mulch. I use a lot of mulch, a lot of shredded leaves. After I film this, I'm actually going over to my aunt's house, going to help her rake and shred up all her oak leaves. She and my mom were working on it yesterday too, while I was doing work here in the garden. So this was all bare soil. I actually mulched it with leaves in the spring and just give it a good coat. I know leaves, for one thing, just FYI, if you have a vole issue or jumping worms, shredded leaves are perfect cover for voles to run around under, safe from predators. So if you want to avoid vole issues, you don't want to use shredded leaves. And right now I have moles that just moved in. I see that all the feral cats are coming and hunting them. All of this like raised area down here, there are just mole tracks all over. Pretty sure it's moles and not gophers. I hope so, because moles don't eat plant roots. They can eat all the Japanese beetle grubs they want, though, to their heart's content. I'm fine with that. Anyway, and then jumping worms. What I have heard or read or seen is that they like shredded leaves because they compost quickly. That's why they're kind of taking over forested areas, because they can just consume all the leaf mulch really rapidly and their populations boom. So just a warning, I don't have either of those issues. I used to have voles, but the feral cats took care of those. So I'm hoping they will do likewise with the moles that just moved in a few weeks ago. But I do a real thick layer. I'm lucky that I have these from my aunt. You can also just shred up fallen leaves with the lawnmower and kind of have mixed leaf and grass cuttings. I've done that as well. That works very well. So good thick layer around everything. After I collect a number of bags this week, I will be mulching everything. I don't cut back any shrubs in the fall. And I don't, or perennials, with the exception of hostas or anything that had disease issues, such as my lungwort got some powdery mildew. Phlox tends to get powdery mildew, so I do cut those down to prevent overwintering those spores. But even the old annuals that have died back, I still leave those standing as well. I clean those out in the spring. It also tends to be easier to clean out in the spring because the root ball has really decomposed over the winter time. So they're pretty quick and easy to pull out. And I'm just tired in the fall. I'm tired and out of energy. We've had no rain at all. I really hope we get some. I will take snow. I will take anything at this point because it has been very dry. So I have been, now that the hoses are put up, this one is not connected. We leave this hose out here all winter long. It's empty. It's open on both ends. So whatever bits of water is left in there, it has room to expand with the freeze so it doesn't burst. We've had this outside for a number of years. But if you have anything freshly planted within the last month or two, you have to keep it watered until the ground freezes solid if you're not getting good rainfall or snow or some kind of precipitation. So that's what I've been doing. I've been hauling watering cans out here, particularly evergreens. I planted a lot of evergreens this year, so I need to be mindful to keep them watered, particularly the ones I planted later in the season. Yeah, I'm just praying for rain. My tree. This is the first time I've had to winterize a tree because I have never planted one before, and this one is young. So this is a rising fire blue beech or hornbeam, or what are they called, musclewood or something like that as well, common names. I got this, so you want to protect on young trees when the bark is still kind of fresh and tender. You want to protect the trunk from sun scald. So using a white wrap or those like white tubes that you see around trees that reflects the sunlight so it doesn't heat up their bark and cause cracking in the wintertime. It also protects against drying winds. And I did get some hardware cloth that is 3 feet long or 3 feet tall, wide, whatever. So it'll be stand up 3 feet so that it'll stick up above the snow. This wrap will protect most of the trunk from any hungry rabbits or anything. I don't have deer issues here in the middle of the city. But I want to protect the base of the tree too from digging and from critters chewing on the bark. So I will also surround this with a circle of the hardware cloth to keep pests away from it. I don't really have many issues with rabbits other than in the winter time when food is scarce, and so they come chewing on my shrubs looking for food. So all these hostas in here, I wait till they get till this state before I clean them up, because then they're really easy to you can just kind of pull the leaves out, they come away, you don't have to cut anything. Sometimes the bloom stalks are kind of stuck and I leave those up, but it's the leaves where slugs and eggs can sort of harbor over. So that is the reason I clean up the hosta leaves in the fall. Some years I don't get to it. It's fine. It's not, it's not life or death if you don't get to it. We all have different things going on, different years. So, otherwise, all of this is going to stay standing up. None of this head disease issues. I'm only going to come through and clean up the hostas. I mean, if you like a more aesthetic garden in the wintertime, you could clean this all up, but I just ran out of energy, frankly. So it stays, and hopefully we have a good snowy winter, our usual amount of snow, so that'll be covered up. Grasses, like this is the Haconocloa that's so beautiful in the fall. It does flop down, it doesn't come back up when we have snow, but it sure is pretty in the fall time. I have had snapdragons come back. They're still, well, they're not really opening blooms. It's too cold. What blooms are left are on there, but I'm going to wait until spring because I've had them sprout from their roots before. So, and self-seed. The rose, I think I talked about this last time. I used to, the first year, I think I surrounded this rose. It's a shrub rose. Some years most of it's covered by snow. The last 2 years we've had little snow cover, so it hasn't been. But the years last year it died back, the year before that it got chewed way back by bunnies, and it came back just fine. So I'm not even going to worry about that. The Amsonia getting some of that gold fall color. Hasn't been quite as gold this year. I don't know if it's just because it's been so warm. We'll see if I get to pulling up these weeds. If not, in the spring when we have snow melt and the ground's nice and wet. Right now it's like cement. It's so dry. If I had my hoses hooked up, I'd be sprinkling all this areas right now, but I'm just focusing on the things I planted in the last month and getting watering cans out here. You can see Anna's Magic Ball kind of got a little bit more bronzy gold color versus the chartreuse that it has. Daylilies flattened out. A lot of this stuff is new here. The drumstick allium that I dug up some of the bulbs and had to replant them are all sprouting in the middle, that kind of green grassy looking. They'll be fine. They'll die back or get covered with snow and resprout in the spring when they're supposed to. So no problems there. I did notice that I had some come through the grass. I had some late rebloom on this clematis. Oh, I'm stuck in the grass here. That one's called Barbara Harrington. So that one's kind of neat. I'm going to walk in the back here, since that's the way I went to squeeze through. So I did plant, this is a Troutman juniper, a little one. That was a clearance plant. It was only $8. So if it doesn't survive, I'm out $8. It's fine. But I figured I was going to heal it in or take it inside. But back here, because it's so close to, this is the south side of the garage, and so it stays quite warm in this little area. The closer to the garage, the warmer it stays over the winter. So I figured rather than healing it in or bringing it outside, it's insulated here. It'll get, natural snow and moisture. So hopefully that'll come back. Evergreens are not ideal to plant in the fall. And the azalea always buds up in the fall as well. And these just hold until spring. That's when you do not want to trim back until right after it blooms because it blooms on old wood, azaleas, and rhododendrons. I did winterize my raised beds, so this is something else that I do, and plant garlic. So I harvested all my carrots, cleared everything out. I've got a few annuals that are still holding on, and I just kind of I leave those in because they're kind of act like mulch, and they keep the cats, the feral cats, from digging. This is my anti-feral cat, and I suppose anti-squirrel system here. These baskets, I got these at Menards. They're like in the closet section. They're like wire baskets. You know, they're supposed to be a basket, not turned upside down, but they work great from keeping critters from being able to access the bare soil and dig. And then all of these random ones I've got black ones, gold ones. Those were all from the Dollar Tree, this tall like waste basket. And then I also have a series of rocks and bricks that I use. And I'll even use these like when I plant like peppers or whatever, I'll put rocks and bricks around them on the soil so that the animals can't dig. Cats like to use any open soil as a litter box. And then these also work in the spring when I'm seeding. Like I have these over my carrots all summer because I can, do my seeding. I can even lay these on top and seed and then sprinkle, a little top dressing if they're shallow seeds. And then things can grow right. They get sun. I can water right through them. They get sunlight. They can grow right through, like the carrot tops just grow right through those. And it keeps critters out of them for the whole summer. And then I just kind of pull them up as I harvest. So pro tip there if you have any issues with that in your garden. But I planted 3 rows of garlic down here. These beds have not been great. They're a little too tall, I think, and so they don't stay as insulated for the garlic. So last year I barely had any garlic come up. I only had 5 cloves sprout in my raised bed. So I only did 3 rows here, kind of extra that I had. I did most of it in the ground, which I've had a lot of good luck with. But I top off, I bought compost. My favorite raised bed mix is the Espoma brand, a little more expensive. But I can find it on sale sometimes at Bachman's. Otherwise, Menards carried one Sunshine mix that I really liked this year. That was good quality and a much better price. And also the Home Depot, that has a little more wood in it, so I do get little mushrooms when I use the Home Depot brand. It's the Kellogg Organics raised bed mix, but that one has good quality too. And I always add fertilizer, compost, worm castings to anything I plant. So those are good starter base. Strawberries in the ground. I didn't get to dig in all of these. I mean, I dug hundreds of strawberries out here and gave so many away. But these are kind of backup. I will get rid of these in the spring and hopefully go to only this raised bed full of strawberries. It's kind of a test this year to see how they do over the winter. If they die, then the ones in the ground I can harvest and transplant in this raised bed. But I am done crawling on hands and knees harvesting strawberries. That is too much. Oh, there's Mama Cat. There's some, I have catnip that just kind of self-seeds around here. And I let it grow because it's a pest deterrent, but she's been really enjoying the catnip everywhere. So I just leave it for her. So this North Pole Arborvitae, I bought this, you may recall, on clearance for 20 bucks, maybe a month ago at Gerton's. Probably more than a month now. Time just flies. But anyway, $20. Don't have a spot for it yet. I'm going to have to move some things around before I plant it, or maybe it will be back up in case another evergreen dies. Super root bound though. But I decided, thank you for the suggestion. One of you suggested in the comments that healing it in a raised bed works really well. So that is what I plan to do, well, what I have done. So I topped off this bed with a couple bags of compost and raised bed mix, dug a big hole. I took this out of the plant can so the roots can kind of spread out and absorb more moisture. In the fall, or the spring, maybe I can get to it early and get it planted in the ground. Otherwise, I'll have to up pot it into a larger container, but it was so root bound, I'm glad I did that. So anyway, and then a couple inches layer of shredded leaves around the base, and you can see my cat deterrent system here. I am so bummed. I probably will put these inside just to conserve them, but these things, these mesh screens are so cool. Target used to carry them every year in like their summer section, like to keep, bugs off your food, to put over food outside. And they've just been awesome for stuff like this. Soil covers, I just use them in the garden to keep squirrels and critters out of bare soil. They've also been like when I planted something when it's hot, like a seedling, it's sort of a shade cloth. So they didn't have them this year, and I was bummed. I wanted to pick up a bunch more, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe next year. These are waste baskets from the Dollar Tree. I forgot to take my plant tags in here. And then bricks. We had tons of bricks. So that is healing in the evergreen. You can do this with other shrubs. You can do it with perennials. I'll put my perennials in the shed. I've had good luck doing that. This is where I planted my garlic with my cat proofing here. A couple inches of leaves in the ground. I haven't had any issues with garlic because it stays much warmer in the ground. Filled up this raised bed, cat proofed. You can see all the dead annuals here. I don't do anything really. I pulled out the stumps from the bell peppers that I had growing in these grow bags, but the annuals I'll just leave. These marigolds are fine. They'll help keep the cats out of these grow bags. I think a couple of these I got on clearance at Bachman's a number of years ago, these gray ones, but the black ones, they all have lichen growing on them, various mosses and lichen, which is very cool. These stay out all winter long. They do fine. They're not expensive. You can get multi-packs of them on Amazon. I think I've got 2 15-gallon and the rest are all 10-gallon grow bags. That is the minimum I would recommend, 10-gallon if you're growing something like a bell pepper that likes to dry out in between waterings. I would not use these for tomatoes unless you get a much bigger one for tomatoes or some thirstier plant like that. I did not have luck growing squash or cucumbers in these because they just dry out too much. But something like bell pepper, this is what I grow my shallots in. They do very well in those because they like to dry out between waterings. So these all just stay in place. Those little plastic cloches were from the Dollar Tree, Dollar Tree a few years ago. They're kind of falling apart, but it's okay. They've lasted many years. I also put straw. I had some extra straw that I just threw down here. You saw, I didn't mention the straw on the strawberry bed for insulation as well. This is a giant catnip I'm going to have to pull out. Like, growing against here, but Mama is so enjoying it. Mama kitty. I also leave, chives. These are in a like frost-proof pot. These have been growing in this pot forever, but they do fine. They're overwinter outdoors. Same thing with tarragon, that is hardy here. I usually, because this is a terracotta pot, I usually put it in the garage so it doesn't crack. And oregano is another one. I don't grow parsley, but oregano is one that tends to come back. And again, all of this I will leave standing. It looks really pretty, some texture in the snow as well over the winter. This pot I will bring it inside. We've gotten down to like 20 degrees, and these are still, this is like a carex, an English ivy, and a wire vine that's left. The rudbeckia and alternanthera died, but I just can't believe those are so hardy. So this is actually a 5-gallon. This is kind of a secret too. If you have pots that fit this 5-gallon plant can, then it's easy to store the pot, and I just pop the plant can in the garage. Easier to clean out. I do clean out all the annuals from my containers, and I get most of them cleaned up. Not everything. I can't get to everything, but the majority of them. I clear out the roots as well, and I sometimes have to tip them over and get all the way down, especially if the roots have grown through the drain hole. And I reuse all the soil. This one I'm just going to cut these off, and it'll store in the garage. As is, that grass might survive in there. GM still looking good. Those are semi-evergreen. The Honeysuckle lost most of its leaves by now. You can see them on the ground. I will come in with a leaf blower and rake and clear all these up, get them out of here because this had aphids. The last few years, honeysuckle aphids have taken over this plant. So I just don't want their eggs to overwinter in the leaves. So that is one thing that will help, one strategy. I will also have to spray in the spring. These berries though, the birds like these. They're not healthy for them. They're like sugar bombs. They're like little, I don't know, fruit snacks or something for birds. But they do like to eat those. We had a wild turkey. I came home from work and there's wild turkeys all over the Twin Cities. But a big old turkey, you know, wandering around my yard, pecking all the berries off the honeysuckle. You can see these dang moles. God, I hope the cats catch them or at least drive them out. Look at this damage. Dang, it's gotten even worse. Ugh. There's another mess of dirt from the moles. Winterizing for the cats. The neighbors gave us these shelters. They were moving away and had been using those, so we've lined them, and so I'm excited. We'll have these 2 shelters, and then I'm also going to do some homemade ones from some styrofoam. I did plant this tater tot arborvitae recently within the last 2 months, so I have been watering that. The moles have been all over this garden. I keep having to press down the soil around it. It doesn't really have roots other than its root ball yet, but so all of these hostas I'll clean up. The rest of the leaves I just leave in the bed. There weren't any disease issues on these plants. Got the dogwood here and the 9 bark there. No disease issues, so the leaves just act as mulch. They'll be mostly broken down by spring. Anyways, I will just come through and pull up these hosta leaves. And that's all I do over here. That's it. Everything else takes care of itself. I've been watering, you can see a little more fall color on the Virginia here. Been watering that and this flax that I transplanted as well. And let's see, fixtures. So I told you that I leave this hose out. You can see the end. We just kind of curl up and get it out of the way. So that stays out here. Other hoses go in the garage. And these guys, my watering wands and things like this, anything that might contain water in there, you can see there's some still dripping. I do bring those inside and store them in the basement before we get really cold. And the dram watering wands, I always unscrew these and empty out this. Even though it seems empty, you'd be amazed how much water is stuck in here. Like I just watered some of my plants just from the water that came out of these hoses. And these, anything plastic, even if there's a couple drops of water and it's outside and it freezes, that water can expand enough to crack some element. I've had this happen constantly. Crack some element inside of here that can't be fixed because it's plastic. So that is why you empty. Same thing on the handle here. I've had these break at the handle because I forget to bring them in and some water gets in there and freezes. So is that on or off? That's okay, never mind. But I do put these in the basement to avoid that, but just be warned. Now, if these are sold separately, I can find these at various garden centers around me to buy maybe 10 bucks a piece separately. So if one of these does break, you don't have to throw away the whole wand. You can order or buy one of those on its own, which I have done a few times. I talked about my pots, all of my containers. Next weekend will have to put these in the garage and get them stored for winter. The large ones, I do leave the soil inside of them in the wintertime, and then I refresh it in the spring. All of the perennials that I have left out here, those stay in the shed for wintertime. The alliums are kind of fresh. I may put those on the porch because it stays a little bit warmer on the porch and I can monitor them a little bit closely. Those are serendipity allium that I had planted last summer, and they've just kind of withered away. So I dug them out of that garden bed, trying to revive them. The one thing I will keep on the porch as well is this evergreen so it can get sunlight. The rest of these are dormant, so they do not need sunlight. I have very successfully overwintered many perennials and shrubs over the years in my shed and on my porch. Just have to be careful to give them some water, but do not overwater. That will do them in, as if you overwater. I'll show you all my potting soil that I store. So any of my containers that go up on shelves, I store the potting soil in here. I save the bags. These are all full of used potting soil from this year. And then I have a whole bunch of buckets, 5-gallon buckets all back here full of potting soil. So I pull those out in the spring and fill my containers, and I refresh with a little extra new soil. These are the geraniums. I have to find bags and boxes for to overwinter those indoors. But yeah, just refresh it. Fertilizer, compost, a little bit of fresh soil mixed in with the old, you're good to go. I did throw away a couple containers that had issues with thrips. You can see my fertilizer shelf. It's a little bit messy in here, but so that is how I overwinter my soil. Containers, pots, all get stored in the garage. We don't leave anything out because there's no space. I don't want them to crack, and we need all of the concrete areas room to clear away snow. If we get a snowy winter, there's just not anywhere to put it other than on the concrete, so I can't have out containers that take up too much space. So these have all been emptied of their soil and stored up here. Kind of get a little idea of my collection of pots. This has been many years in the making, collecting all of these. I like, as you can see, kind of greens, neutral colors. That way they all kind of work together too. No matter how I arrange them, they all kind of complement each other. So I can do a different layout, different arrangement every year. I have a few things that I will either give away or bring indoors. And then I've got boxes that I keep downstairs. These are the canna tubers. I'll have to bring them inside so they can finish drying out. All the stems that I cut have a lot of moisture, so I don't want to close them off until those stems have had a chance to dry out. And then down here is where all of my larger pots go. I stack them double or even triple high in here. Heaviest ones on bottom, and then it gets lighter as it goes up. And my hoses get stored in here. So that is kind of winterizing my container garden. Here are all the bigger ones. I am going to, some of these, like these snapdragons were still growing. I might just see how they do in the garage, just see if they survive. Unless I get overwhelmed and I just have to get rid of stuff. Otherwise, in the front yard, we can go look, but I really don't do anything other than put down mulch and clean up hosta leaves for winter. Everything kind of is self-sufficient up front. So this garden bed just stays as is. I even leave up the Russian sage. Most of the winter it'll be covered with snow, hopefully, if we get enough snow cover. Same thing, evergreens are good. Anything freshly planted up here, I continue watering. Otherwise, it's all gone dormant. I pulled out a couple annuals, but not all of them. I'll do full cleanup in the spring. So I did plant a few of these obsidian, no. They're the Proven Winners ones that I got on clearance, these heuchera. Those are fresh, so I need to do that. And then a hosta that I transplanted. Otherwise, everything else up here, it's all right. Snapdragons, the iris foliage. I like that gold color. Especially love the seed heads that I left up. Very cool. This hellebore, nice and big. I have two of them here. Big one and a smaller one. That stays evergreen too, semi-evergreen. I do have to cut it back in the spring. This Stringtherium Sony also didn't turn super bright gold this year. But yep, everything just stays as is. A little bit of color left on the barberry here, limoncello barberry. This one needs a trim. I should trim it back in the spring for sure. But, and I think I will get some cat scat mats for the bare soil over here, so it's not just total litter box territory. This year I'm going to leave all these annuals standing. Hopefully that will take up some space that the cats don't dig so much. Yeah, that's it. Pretty little view there looking through to the back with the dogwood colors shining. So that's it. Once I get everything squared away in the basement, I think I'll show you my annuals I'll show you my basement grow shelves where I am experimenting with annuals. We'll see how we do over the winter with those. So that is the plan. I'm still kind of buttoning things up here, and then I'll get everything moved inside eventually. Luckily, it's been warm this year. Last year it got cold really fast, and so a lot of things that I wanted to overwinter died. I didn't get a chance because I couldn't get them moved inside fast enough, particularly because we suddenly had 3 kittens in the house. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope your fall's going great, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.